Hi, my name is Leo. I'm the owner of Orchard Audio, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do digital room correction or DRC with my company's PecanPi or PecanPi Plus streamers that run the Volumio software. So what items do you need? You need a calibrated microphone. For this video, I use the Mini DSP UMK1. You need a flash drive that you can put files onto, and then you need a computer with the Room EQ Wizard or REW software installed. So let's get started. One of the first things you're going to want to do is go to the Mini DSP website and go to the product page for the calibrated microphone and scroll down, and then right here you can download the microphone's calibration file. So I'm going to put in the serial number from my microphones and then hit submit. And when you hit submit, there's actually two files that are going to get downloaded. As you can see here, there is a calibration file and then there's a 90-degree calibration file. The calibration file that we are going to need is the regular one. So I'm going to just leave this file in the folder, and then I'm going to open up REW. So in REW, the first time you open it up, it's actually going to automatically detect the microphone and ask if you want to use it for measurements, and you say yes. And then you can also add in the calibration file, but I'll show you how to do that here. So you go up here and you hit the preferences button, and on the sound card tab, for the input device, you want to make sure that the UMIK1 microphone is selected. And then down here, you're going to select, the microphone again, and then the channel you're using for measurements. In my case, I'm using the left channel. And then under the calibration files right here, you see the UMK1 microphone, and I already have the calibration file loaded. But again, I can browse for it, and I have the calibration file right here. So I'm just going to load that calibration file. And then we are done here. The next thing we want to do in REW is to create the waveform that we will use for the measurement. In order to do that, we have to select the generator. And it brings up this menu, and we want to do a sweep, and we want to do a measurement sweep from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz. That covers the whole range of human hearing. And then we want to leave this at the 1 million length. If it's not, just select the 1M length there. Then you want to leave this at -12 dBFS, and you want to save this to a file. And we want to do here both the left and right channels, and we want to do 48 kilohertz and 24-bit PCM. Okay, and then we want to make sure that we put in the add timing reference. Now, checking this button is very important because REW will listen for this little reference signal before it starts doing the measurement. So, and then I'm going to hit the wave button, and then it's going to ask me where do I want to save the file. So I already did this previously. I have a folder on my desktop called REW, and I already have a file, but I'm just going to overwrite it. The file exists, overwrite it, yes. And then you can see that the file is right here. Now, what you're going to want to do is put this file on a flash drive and then plug that flash drive into one of the USB ports on the PecanPi streamer. Okay. Now that we have the waveform file saved to a flash drive and plugged into the PecanPi streamer, we can go ahead and do the measurement. So I'm going to hit the measure button here in REW, and it brings up this window. So what we want to do is we want to do a sweep, and the length is 1M, and we are sweeping from a file. Now here it asks you to give it the sweep file, and I have the file saved in the folder here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that file into here. This is the same file that the streamer is going to play. Once we have done this, we are ready to start the sweep. But before we do that, I am going to bring up Volumio's interface. So I'm going to open up a browser, and then I'm going to type in http://. And in my case, the name of the streamer is Leo-test. So that's the name, and then .local. So going to your streamer's name, .local, allows you to pull up the streamer's interface on your computer. So here I have the streamer's interface up on my computer, and I'm going to browse to the by hitting the button down here. I'm going to browse to the USB drive that I have plugged in, and here is the measurement file that I saved to the flash drive that I plugged into the streamer. So now Volumio is ready. So what I'm going to do back in REW is I'm going to hit start. Now REW is waiting for the Volumio to play the signal. And so in Volumio, I am going to hit the little 3 dots next to this file and say play. Okay, I specifically stayed silent while it was playing because the microphone is in the same room with me, and I didn't want to have my voice, screw up the measurement. So once the signal is played, now you have your measurement in REW here. And what you actually want to do is you want to take a measure in a couple of different spots around the listening position, right? And then average them before you do the room correction. And there's a lot of other videos on YouTube that explain how to do this. But basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move my microphone a little bit to the left of its current position. And I'm going to hit the measure button again and hit start. and then go back to Volumio and play the file one more time. Okay, so now we have a second measurement to a little bit to the left of the listening position. So I'm going to do one final measurement with the microphone moved a little bit to the right of the listening position. So again, I just moved the microphone. I'm going to hit start and then play the file again in Volumio. Okay, so now we have three measurements of our room, one directly in the listening position, one a little bit to the left of the listening position, and then a third one a little bit to the right of the listening position. Okay, here we are. So we have our three sweeps that we measured earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the All SPL tab up here. Okay, and this shows you now all three sweeps that are that we took using the microphone. And down here, you see they're all checked, so they're all selected. And what we want to do now is we want to hit the controls button here, and we want to time align these three sweeps. So I'm going to hit the time align button right here. Okay, that completed. And now we want to average these three sweeps. So I'm going to hit the dB average button. Okay, here we go. So now that gave us a fourth sweep down here. That is the average of the other three. And this average is the one that we want to use to do the room correction. So the first thing you want to do is we want to make sure that orange sweep is selected, which I have right here, the dB average. And then I'm going to go to graph, and I'm going to do 1/6 smoothing. So now here, and I'm going to turn off the first three so that it's easy to see. So now here is the frequency response of our room. And 1/6 smoothing is very close to how we perceive sound. So this is a very good representation here. So I'm going to turn off the controls now. And at this point, we are ready to do the actual room correction from these measurements that we took. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the EQ button, and this is going to bring up this interface here. Now in this interface here, we see our original curve right there, okay? And I'm going to also hit a target. Now, what is this target curve and where does it come from? So I'm going to close this window for a minute. And I'm going to go back to Preferences, and I'm going to open the House Curve tab. And right here, I have a file that's called Harman Room Curve. Now, what this file is, and you can actually see the contents of the file displayed here. This file is from Harman and Kardon's many years of testing of how we actually perceive sound, right? Our ears don't perceive sound in a flat line. So out of their many years of testing and research, they have come up with this room curve, that is basically of how we perceive sound and how we want our audio system to essentially behave. And I'll post this down in the video comments, so you can also download this file and add it to the house curve under Preferences. And you can also find many other files online. I decided to use the Harman Kardon one because it's very well known, and it has based on my research, generated very good results for people. So that's what I'm using. Okay, so back to the EQ. Okay, so the target, so this is the room curve that we want to achieve. And this is our room currently. Okay, so under the equalizer dropdown on the right-hand side here, we want to make sure generic is selected. Okay, then we want to go to target settings. And in my case, I have a bass limited speaker. Okay, and what you can see here is that this right off the bat adjusted my standard room curve once I hit this drop down menu. Now, in my case, I have a bass reflex port on my speakers, so that equates to a 24 dB per octave drop. And here we can also see now, I'm going to adjust the frequency here. And we can see that now my speaker's output and the this blue target is very close to each other. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, right here, I'm going to click on Calculate Target Level from Response. Right, and what this does is this adjusts the level of the target to be, in the center of our current measurement to make things easier. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the filter tasks menu bar. And in this menu bar, there's a lot of options, right? And so we want to do room correction for the whole frequency range from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Now, what do these next few options mean? So individual max boost. So you typically want to leave this around 6 dB. And overall max boost, you generally want to leave this at 0. And this will prevent the software from actually attenuating, not attenuating, or boosting up the troughs in your response. why do you want to do this? Because boosting up the troughs also overall reduces the volume level of the whole thing. And if you have enough headroom in your system, you can go ahead and do that. But if you don't, I would say, safely leave this number at 0. And now this is how closely we want to be to this blue curve. And we want to match within 2 dB. So now, and you want to make sure that these 2 buttons are checked as well. So now what we can do is we can tell REW to automatically adjust. And so I'm going to hit the match response to target button. Okay, so now here, now we see the predicted response with some filters that REW generated. So I'm going to remove my original response, which is the dark orange, and then I'm going to highlight the predicted response. And you could see that the predicted response now is a much closer match to the blue line. But because we left this number at 0 here, none of these troughs got boosted up because due to what I was talking about earlier. So, and we can actually hit this EQ filters button up here, and we could see what filters REW generated to, address our response. And now that we have all these filters generated, what we're going to do, we're going to export the filter settings as text. And here you could put in a comment and say, I'm just going to say test and say OK. And now it's going to ask me, well, where do I want to save this file? And I'm going to save it to filter settings.txt, and I'm going to hit save. I already had one previously. You could name the file whatever you want, but I recommend not having any spaces in it. That's why I have an underscore. So I'm going to say yes. So now we have our filter settings file, and this file can be loaded into Volumio to basically address the room. So I'm going to cancel out of this menu, and we are done for this portion of it. Okay, so we have generated the filter file, this filter settings.txt file. Here it is. And just so you can see what it looks like, it basically puts all the filters as a text document. So now we need to get this file into Volumio. Now, before we do that, I'm going to bring back up the Volumio interface. And I'm going to hit the hamburger menu and then go to plugins. Now, the plugin that you want installed is the Fusion DSP plugin. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to install it. But if you don't have it installed, just hit install, and it'll take a couple of minutes to install the plugin. Once it's installed, make sure that the plugin is enabled or turned on, and then you can go to the settings menu for the plugin. And under the settings menu for the plugin, you want to make sure that you select parametric equalizer and then hit apply. Once you do that, the plugin is basically ready to accept that filter file that we created using REW. But that file is stored locally on my computer, and it needs to be on the streamer in order for the streamer to be able to access it. Now, how do we get it onto the streamer? So I'm going to open up my computer here, and we need to browse to the streamer. Um, to browse network items, it's 2 /, and then the name of the device. So my name of the device is Leo Test. Okay, and I'm gonna so / the name that your streamer has, and then hit enter. Okay, and this brings us 3 items that are on the streamer, and we want to go to its internal storage, and then here you have a Fusion DSP folder, and then you have the PEQ folder. This is the parametric EQ. And here you have a bunch of text files that have different filter settings. And as you can see, I already put the filter settings file in here, but I'll delete it. I'll delete the file, and I'm going to just copy it over again from this is the file we just generated. I'm going to say copy here. So now this filter settings file is in Volumio. Okay, back to the Volumio interface. We are going to scroll down, and down here, you can see there's a menu block for import a local EQ file. So I'm going to select my filter settings TXT file, and I am going to hit load file. So here now you can see that all the filters got imported right here. Okay, and now they're being used. So as a final step, we are going to verify that what we did actually did what we wanted. So back in REW, what we're going to do is we're going to take another measurement, and same as before, in Volumio, we want to browse to the measurement file that we had previously. And so now I'm going to hit start. And now in Volumio, I'm going to play that file. Okay, and I'm going to apply the same 1/6 smoothing to the to the new data that we just took, and we can go back to the EQ wizard, and we can now see that our new room response is much closer to the ideal curve than it was before. But we did, applying all of these filters did also lower the volume a little bit. So at this point, we are done. You can go back and play your favorite songs, and hopefully they will sound much better to you after doing the room correction. Thank you for listening to our videos. If you like it, please give us the thumbs up and follow our channel. Thank you.